Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Beyond LS, and in this episode I want to share with you a command line tool called Exiftool. So this is the name of the tool. It's a really powerful utility that can help you read and manipulate file metadata. So let me give you a high-level overview of what metadata is. I'm going to go here. Basically, metadata is what we call data about data. So usually when you have a file, so for example, an image file, you have the picture elements transformed into bits. So everything is digitized, it's encoded, and you get the picture elements encoded as bits. Okay, so here's an image, and here's what the actual data, the image data, will be on the file. This is like a JPEG file. So this is the image data. In the same way, an audio file like an MP3 will also have this data, the audio waveform digitized and transformed into bits. So the data of the audio file, whether it's a WAV or an MP3 or a FLAC, it's just data that contains the pure, let's say, audio of the pure audio or the image. So this is the actual data that is contained within a file. Now metadata, so data is the actual thing that corresponds to the image or the audio. Metadata is, as you will see in this next screen, data about data. So the metadata contains a description and information about the actual data. So in this diagram, you can see that the data, the file data corresponds to the image, the picture elements, or to an audio, or in the case of a Word document or a text document, it is just the data about the text that we write. Now the metadata contains information about the data itself. So in the case of like an image file, that metadata can contain something about the type of the data, like probably image, the compression that we're using, JPEG 2000 or PNG, or there are various compression algorithms for compressing image data. Sometimes you also find information about the camera. So if this is a picture or a photo that you took from your mobile phone, from your smartphone, or maybe another camera, you probably will find information from that maker and the type of phone or camera. Usually you have the date that you took the picture, and sometimes you will even find geolocation information, kind of like you can think of it as GPS. So sometimes there are certain cameras that imprint into through the metadata, imprint the exact location that you were when you took the picture. Conversely, in an audio file, you can find data, metadata about the actual data. Once again, you might find things like the type of the data. This is an audio file, the compression algorithm, the MP3, and then maybe some data like the artist, the genre, description. So this kind of like information. So this is on a high level overview what metadata is, like data about data. An Exiftool, the tool that I'm going to show you today, is a utility that can help you read all this metadata found in quite a few files. Almost every kind of file contains some kind of metadata, and in here in the Exiftool's website you will find the various metadata formats that exist. The Exif format, which Exiftool actually takes its name from, is basically stands for extensible image file format. So it's metadata that is related mainly with image files. But the tool is not, or at least it no longer just supports metadata about images. It can also read all these different formats, all these different metadata format that come from different files, even from audio files, as you will see in a minute. So this is the tool that I'm going to demonstrate. In here, I will just experiment with two file formats, MP3 files and a JPEG file. and I'm going to start with the image, the JPEG file. So I have here an image. This is an image, a photo that I took from the Greece.js meetup here in Greece. So basically there was a presentation. I took my phone and I took a screenshot of the, photo of what was actually on the presentation screen. So this is a photo I took from my phone, and this is the file in here in my local folder. So let's see what happens when I run Exiftool with the name of the file, and you will see the list of metadata. So here's a huge list of the metadata contained in this file. You can find things, okay, of course, the file name, the file size, the modification date, the file type, this is JPEG, and other information. Now, here's what's important. In this case, you can also find information about the camera model and the version probably. So in here, you can see that my Motorola phone and model can be found. It's imprinted inside the metadata. So if I were to upload this image on my website or on some blog or maybe somewhere else, or if I were to share this, the people that can read this metadata, for example, you using Exiftool, they can find out about my mobile phone model and maker, which is something that I might not want to share with certain parties. You can also find the software, the orientation, whether it was like in portrait or in landscape mode, the modification date, some other information about kind of like the sensitivity of the camera in that exposure, all this camera information. And if I scroll down, you will see there's a lot of information about this image. So this is the metadata. Thumbnail, compression, image width and size. And an interesting thing about this metadata is that apart from like the make, the model of the camera and the date, which can tell a lot about when someone and maybe probably who took a picture and when, they can be used also, all these details, they can be used to fingerprint, let's say, a user. So even if you don't know, for example, the model, if the model was not in there, just by looking at all these details, some people using some sophisticated tools can find out exactly what make and model was taken, this picture was taken with. So this is information that you probably don't want to share with everybody. And I have some posts in here. There's kind of like a very famous story about how John McAfee was betrayed by metadata. So you'll find these articles from NPR and one from Scientific American talking about this case when John McAfee took a picture. He was actually a fugitive, and he forgot to kind of like remove the geolocation metadata. So they were able to track his exact location, let's say. So you can Google for McAfee metadata and you can find about this story. Now, how can I remove, how can I clear this metadata from my files? Let's say before uploading on some kind of like website, I can use the Exiftool and I can run with the option all equal and then the file. Now I will make a copy just to keep the original file here. Oops. So, and in with this option, does all equal, it will strip away the metadata from the file. So let me run this. There's one image updated. By running this command, the original file, the Greece.js JPEG, is stripped from the metadata, but the tool also creates kind of like a copy of the original file that contains the full metadata along with the data. So this JPEG original, it's kind of like a backup. And I will now run the Exiftool with this new version of the image. And Greece.js, and you will see that I will get far less information. So now all the metadata about the make and the model are gone, and what's left is just some information about the file size, the compression and the image type, which basically are information or the image and the width that you can even find out with just the data from this image. So these are not like sensitive information. And if I run the Exiftool, we can compare this stripped kind of like version of the JPEG image with the previous one. So I have the copy here. So you can see this is a long list that contains all sort of like information about my smartphone. So this is one way that you can use the EXIF tool to either read and find metadata hidden in some files like image files, and you can also strip away the information, this metadata information, this sensitive information from the file. Fortunately, in most cases, when we upload an image these days in a website or in a service like Facebook or Instagram, I believe most of these services strip away the metadata before they kind of like upload and post it. But even in that case, probably you don't want to share this sensitive information with Facebook or some other company. You can run this tool and then strip away the metadata before you upload. Now I'm going to switch over to the MP3 files. So I have these MP3 files in here. Let me just remove these image files. So I have these MP3 files that have contain like these kind of like strangely looking file names. These are MP3 files from the Software Engineering Daily podcast. So here's the podcast. I highly recommend that you check it out. So you can download the podcasts, but unfortunately, whenever you download them, even though in the website you can see the full title, when you download them, you will see just these file names that don't really explain or describe what these episodes are about. So whenever I want to listen to one of these files, I cannot, I don't remember, of course, based on this file name, what was the topic of the particular podcast. Fortunately for me, when I previewed this file on my Mac, I can see that the title is in some way embedded in this file. So when I use the preview option in the on my Mac, I can see. So that gave me a hint that probably the title is embedded in these files as metadata. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to get this data, this metadata, like the title of the podcast, and rename all these files so that they contain the actual title. So instead of seeing, let's say, SED68, you know, whatever the file would be, understandable software with Kartik Agaram .mp3 and so forth. And of course, these are just this is just a short list of the podcasts that I downloaded. The list is kind of like really big. I could do it manually, like open this up or read the metadata. I can even like open the preview here, and I can see, you know, the title from the Mac Finder preview. But I wanted to do this using command line tools and automate this process so that I can run a command and I can have all these MP3 files renamed automatically. So here's some tools that we can combine and automate this task. The first thing I want to find out is how I can get the title of these MP3 files. So I will run Exiftool and then I will pass in the first file here. And you'll see it's once again a huge list that contains a lot of information about the file. The thing that I'm interested in here is the title. So there's a metadata property called title, which contains the podcast title, the podcast episode title. There's also a lyrics property, which is used mainly for songs, but in this case they have embedded an HTML content that describes something about the episode. that can be useful. And of course, in the album metadata property, they have the podcast channel titled Software Daily. So I'm interested in grabbing this property, this metadata, not this whole thing. So the way that I can do it is I can run the Exiftool with the S option and then provide the name of the metadata property. So for example, if I run album and then let me just use this the same file again, you will see that metadata property name album along with the metadata property value is displayed. In the same way, I can try to find the title property, which is what I'm actually need. So I can see title, and the title of this episode is Understandable Software with Kartik Agaram. Let me run this once again. So S and then the name of the metadata. The next one here, ethical GPTs, blah blah blah. Okay, the title now, the output of this command contains the title name, but also the property name, which is something that I don't need. Luckily for me, there's an option. I can use the S3 instead of the S, and this will just display the title, not the property name. Or it will actually display the metadata value without the metadata property. So in this case, this is just the title. You cannot see the title on the left. And if I also run this with album, I can just see the album name without the album prefix. So that's cool. That's one of the commands that I will keep for this automation. So the next thing I want to do is to kind of like loop over all the MP3 files found in this folder, grab the metadata title, and then rename the files so that they are they contain the title of the podcast episode. So basically, let me just create a copy here. I want to take the metadata and then turn this file into something that, let's say, ethical GPTs. So I can use the move command, which you can use to rename a file. And then I want to rename this to, let's say, it should look like ethical, I don't know, GPTs, MP3, something like this. And then the file name will look exactly like this. So I could see what the podcast is about just by looking at the file name instead of having to open the preview. So this is what I want to actually do. Use the move command to rename the file from said number to the title. So another command I need to pick up and use to automate. Okay, and of course I want to manage all the files at once. I don't want to run this command that will rename one file, then run it again. I want to run this in a loop. So here's how you can run a loop using the command line. So there's the for command, the for loop in the terminal, in the shell. You can say for I, you can give it whatever name you like. And then what you can do is you can loop over either an output that comes from a particular command. And in this case, I just want to show you that you can loop over a series of numbers. So the simplest loop that you can run is you can run some loop from 1 to 5. So what you can do is you can say for, then provide a name. This I can be anything. So let's give it a name like number. And then and this is the logic of the loop. In this case, this special syntax lets you run the loop 5 times. And then you say for number in this. And then you close this statement and you say do. So for every iteration of this loop, do something like, for example, echo loop. And then you close the statement and you're done. So this is kind of like a simple loop in shell. I haven't closed. Let me see. I have somewhere a 4 number in. Okay, I think I have. Okay, I missed the quote there. So now you can see this is run 5 times, and this command is uh, has been executed 5 times. Instead of just echoing like loop, I can use a special syntax, the $sign and the name that I gave here, so number, and this will echo, will display the actual value from 1 to 5. So it will loop over this range 5 times, starting from 1, ending to 5, and the number variable will take this value. So if I run this, you will see that number is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, I can give this number any uh, name I want. I is kind of like the usual, let's say, standard way of using this loop counter. So I can even use I in here, and I can also combine this with something like a string. So I can put it in double quotes and I can say iteration I, and then I can see something like this. So this is like a simple way to loop over through the shell. Now, the cool thing is that this for I can be used not just with like the range of numbers, but also with commands that output like a series or a stream of outputs. In this case, I want to run a command. I will use this special syntax, $sign and parentheses, and in here I can write any command that will be used to create these iterations for this loop. So for example, if I use the command ls and I will echo the special variable I, this will run the command ls, and based on the output, based on the series of outputs, it will loop over and echo the name. So you can see here that it just displays for every iteration, displays the file names. So basically, this executed the command ls, and for every single entry, it ran this loop and then also executed this command. And of course, I can do something like echo file, you know, whatever. So I can uh, complete this command with whatever I want. So now I know that I can loop over this list of files and I can run all the commands that I need to automate this process of renaming the file to reflect the title of the MP3, and then renaming, of course, the file. Now, in this case, I'm looping over this folder which contains both MP3 files and JPEG files, so I will have to run this again with slight modification to the ls command. So I want to list just the MP3 files, so just the MP3 files, and I want to get rid of this. Okay, and conversely, if I do like JPEG, I would see just the JPEG. Okay, I can loop over the MP3s. Now, I can run the Exiftool command for each of these entries to actually grab the title. So I will go back to the command, and in here, instead of just echoing the file name, I will run the Exiftool command. So Exiftool S3 and title. Now I don't need the quotes in here, and this will run this command Exiftool S3 title with the name that I get in every loop, and I will probably see the 5 podcast titles. Let's see. So it loops over, it grabs the file name, and it stores this in this temporary loop variable $I, and then it executes this command with the first file name, the second, fourth, third, fourth, and so forth. And I can see the title. Now, in this case, you can see that I have quite what I need in here, but there's a special, there's a title here that has a special character, this colon here. Sorry for that. Okay, this is something that I don't want to use in my file name because this is an invalid character. This is not cannot be used in file name. So I need to be able like to switch from this character to something that's appropriate for my file system. For example, if I create a file, whatever, and I put this colon here, I don't know, something, let me, I don't know, txt, you will see that the colon was converted automatically in this slash. So this is, oops, um, uh, this is shown in this way, but in here you can see it's kind of like replaced with a slash. So this is a character that I want to avoid. And let me go back to the loop. So now I have a new thing I have to take care through some kind of like command line tool. So based on the title, if there is this character found in this title, I want to replace it with a dash. So this will become something more appropriate for a file name, which for me would be space dash. So let's see how we can do this with another command. This command is called sed stream editor. So basically what you can do is you can output, you can stream some kind of data. So I'm going to echo AAA, and I'm going to pipe this output to the sed command. And the sed command has this powerful regular expression engine that you can use to replace some pattern found in the input. So here's how you can use the S option, and then you can say what is the character that you want to replace. In my case, A, then slash, and then what is the character or characters that you want to replace A with. So I want to replace A with B, and then I close this, and this will take this stream, and it will find this character and replace it with B. So the first A became B. If I want to change every occurrence of A into B, so not just the first one, but all of them, I will have to use the global flag. So this means take all of the A's and convert them into a B. And of course, I can make this anything I want. Okay, I can make it star, I can make it a, I don't know, whatever. So all the A's are replaced by whatever. And in my case, I want to replace the special colon. So this is song, I don't know, title. So I want to replace the colon with the dash, right? Not just the first colon, but so I want to come up with this kind of like output. And I also want this to be kind of like, I think the title was something like this. I want to put a space. So the colon becomes space dash, and so let's combine this command with the Exiftool to actually convert the title into something that doesn't contain the colon. So I will see let me remember which one was it. This is the first, no, or this is, okay, this is it. So Exiftool S3 title and this one. Okay, this is what I get. And now I will pipe the output of this command, which is the title that contains the colon, into sed with S colon and then space and then G. And this will replace the colon with this dash. And I can get the title in exactly the way I want, because I want the file name to look like this and not with that strange kind of like slash. So here's the command I need. Now, I have all the tools I need. I have the Exiftool that gives me the title of the metadata title from the file. I have the sed that converts this special character, this colon, into a dash, and I need to combine this with a loop. So I loop over these five MP3s grab the metadata title, convert it, and then rename the file. Let's see how we can put all these things together and get what we want. So I will say for I in, use the special syntax, ls mp3, and then let's do, now before kind of like combining all the commands together, like the mv for move, for renaming, and Exiftool, I like to just start with just a few commands, try them out, see the output, and then combine all of them. So I will just say exif, let me do echo, then I will just put string, once again the special syntax. So I will run this command, and that command will be exif to s3 title. Now I'm inside this for loop, so I will use the special $i to get the file name, and then I will pipe the output to sed, and then replace the colon with space dash g, and then I will also append mp3 to this string, and let's see if so loop over and echo the output of this string, which contains internally in this string, you can see this is an evaluation of a command. So the shell will evaluate this command, and then it will come up with this string, which should be like the final title, the final file name for these files. And as you can see, I get all these nice titles appended as the file name. And in the case of this special kind of like title, I have the colon replaced with the dash. So this is everything I need. This command just echoed this output. Now I want to rename this file. So I want to take the original file name and then change it to this, and this. So the final command would look something like, instead of echoing something to the console, I want to rename the I file. So that's the original file, sed68, sed71, and so forth. So rename this file into this file. So hopefully if I run this command and I don't have a typo, it will read all these files, read their metadata, and then rename them to actually have the title as their file name. Let's see. And as you can see, let me also less here. Now the files are not sed and some strange looking number, but they contain kind of like the title. So now I can see whenever I want to listen to an episode, I know straight away from the title, from the file name, that this is what I want to listen to. So this is pretty cool because I have a huge list of files, of MP3 files sitting in another folder, and I didn't want to do this kind of like manually. So this is pretty cool. One last thing that I want to show you is that the metadata contained in these files, in this case in these MP3 files, do not just contain text file or text metadata. They can also contain other type of data. In this case, if you will see here, like I have the default MP3 file icon for these three files, but for these two episodes, they have this kind of like thumbnail. So you can see that embedded inside the metadata is a small image that you can see when you download them and you open them up in the Explorer or in the Finder view. So embedded in the metadata of these MP3 files is a small image. Let's see how we can export this image out of the file. Now these are the two files that have this thumbnail. Let me run the first one, the tool for the first one, just to see. So if I scroll down, this is the list of metadata for this file. You can see that in here I also have this picture metadata. So there's a picture embedded in the metadata. It's PNG. It is a PNG image, as you can see. It's almost 40,000 bytes, and I can use a special command that Exiftool provides. So Exiftool. So the B is for outputting the metadata in binary format. Since I want to create a binary file, an image file, I will have to use the B. And then from the metadata, I can pick the picture. So once again, I pick just the metadata that I want exported. So exporting binary, the picture metadata from the file understandable software, blah, blah, blah. And this will give me, okay, some strange looking binary data. So in the terminal, I cannot really see or make sense of this binary data, okay? But in here, instead of outputting this or dumping this binary data straight into the console, I can append it to a file that, let me call it thumbnail.png. I know that the metadata image is a PNG, so I will export this in a file, and you can see that now the thumbnail is a PNG file that I can use it. So I picked the thumbnail metadata, exported it in a file, and I can use it in whatever ways I want. This is actually really cool, I think, because you can find other file formats and other metadata file formats that you can read and modify and change. You can even embed all sorts of like comments or metadata into your files. So not only you can read and strip away metadata, but you can insert new metadata properties with the data that you want. So that's it for today. We covered quite a lot. So we saw the Exiftool. We saw the move, of course, very simple command to rename or move a file. We saw the set stream editor, which is a really powerful tool that you can use to manipulate data, streaming data, and then replacing things as we've used. And of course, the powerful for in loop in the terminal. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and hopefully see you in the next episode. Bye bye.